So as Arda mentioned before you came on, you are main event. We now know that for sure, right? UFC Fight Night 5-rounder in Fresno, California, taking on Brian Ortega. And this fight actually, it's sort of leaked out there in social media, and I called you last week and said, hey, there's reports out that you're fighting Brian Ortega, and you told me I don't know anything about that, but it ended up being true. What was the case there? Was it just some leaked information? How was this out online before you knew about it, Cub?
I don't know 100%, but I had been hearing it from all over. I had random people coming in my gym saying, hey, I went to high school with Brian Ortega, one of his coaches, and they said that you're fighting him and it's a done deal. This was like 3 weeks ago. To UFC employees telling me congrats on the main event, and then hitting up the UFC and them saying they had nothing for me yet. So yeah, it was kind of funny. But, I mean, if they thought that I wasn't training for this, it's not the case. I've been in the gym. I kind of figured that this was the fight that was going to happen, so I've already been preparing.
What do you mean by that, if they thought that you weren't training for it? I mean, do you think that this was on purpose they were keeping it from you, or do you think it just got lost in the shuffle? I mean, we know it's a big company over there, and there's a lot of moving parts. It's not the first time that a fighter would find out about a fight not directly from the UFC, but what do you make of, hearing about this for quite a long time, but then the UFC saying that they did not have a fight for you?
My honest opinion is I feel like I may have upset somebody because I didn't take a new deal. And, that's just how it works. I'm very happy with the UFC, but I would like to position myself to be in a better situation. So I think that's probably why after I didn't get the title fight, I was a little bit, disappointed and wanted to position myself in a better position. And I think I would have probably gotten Aldo or Lamas had I signed a new contract with them. So I didn't, and I think now I'm getting a young, hungry up-and-comer. This is what you get.
So in hindsight, when you look back on the last few months after your fight in April, going through the negotiations with the UFC, wanting that title shot, and now having this main event fight with Brian Ortega, are you happy with how things went down, or would you have changed anything?
I would have liked to have gotten the title fight. Like I said before, this is the 20th title fight since I've been in the division. And I've been in the top tier of guys my entire career. So it's a little frustrating, and seeing somebody like Frankie, who's great, just get tons of title fights. I just don't understand it. So if I'm not going to get the title fight, then whatever. If they're going to have me fight some young up-and-comer, bring it on. I'm gonna, if they think that he's the next big thing, then I'll just deflate that real quick.
Cub, what was this negotiating process like? You were on this podcast a few months ago, and you were talking about some things that you wanted, and at that time you were pretty confident that you were going to get a title shot. That was actually before Max Holloway fought Jose Aldo. Can you sort of, it'd probably take a while to go through it step by step, but can you give us the cliff notes of, were they at least halfway close? Were you close to signing a new deal, or were you just very far apart on the numbers? Was there something specific that you wanted that they just absolutely refused to give you? I mean, I guess at the end of the day, why fight out your contract in December and test free agency?
It's just a power move. You know what I mean? Of course, I want to get paid more, especially now with the daughter and having to take care of the family. The thing people don't understand is, like, yes, I got to a point where I'm making good money and enough to make a living on, but it's not retirement money, not even close. So when I'm thinking about, hey, man, I've been doing this 13 years, and I'm in the prime of my career now, but at some point it's going to dip off, and I'd like to walk away before I start having really, really bad performances with enough money in my account to, make the smart investments and do the right things. I just want that opportunity for everything I've done. I've had 8 fight of the nights for the company, 2 knockout of the nights. I feel like I put in my dues. So they offered me a good contract, but I always think we could get more because I think that we're all underpaid. And but the biggest thing about it was at least a title fight. I wanted that some leverage for that. Say, hey, I'm next. And they're always saying, oh, well, we can't guarantee anything. Well, it's like, come on, you can. So that's kind of more or less what it's about.
So if you defeat Brian Ortega on December 9th, do you feel like you're in the best possible position to be next to challenge for the championship?
I don't know, because from what I'm hearing, Aldo and Lamas is fighting. So I don't know if they're going to put Aldo back in that mix. I think that my fans are finally speaking out for me and getting a little frustrated that I haven't gotten an opportunity. And because that's the biggest part of it is, like, in negotiations with the UFC, they're just talking about, oh, well, you haven't fought for a title or held a title. It's like, well, you decide that, who gets the opportunity. You've never given me an opportunity, so how can you use that as an argument, So we'll see.
Cub, listening to all of this, do you think there's a fix? Talk of this has sort of died down, but last year was a big conversation topic, and that was, should fighters unionize? There's a group of guys who want to, expand the Ali Act and have it, expanded and cover mixed martial artists. Do you see a fix to this situation? If what you're describing is accurate, and this is your side, of course, but you didn't want to sign a contract extension, so that affected who you fight, the opportunities you get. Aldo and Lamas now potentially fighting in the number 1 contenders fight instead of you. Is there any fix to this, or is this just the nature of the business?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I just know that, how the game works and the situations you get in, and you just got to play your best move. And, it kind of sucks on my part, just with the fans going, oh, why didn't you rematch Aldo? You missed your opportunity. It's like, I have no say in it. The UFC hasn't offered me a fight until Friday, they told me, for any fight. I didn't get offered the title fight. I didn't get offered Aldo. All these people thinking that I turned down anything. The first thing I was offered was Brian Ortega this Friday, and after I already kind of found out that was the fight that was going to happen. So I'm getting the fights that are given to me, and that's just the way that it's always gone for me. As far as the Ali Act and things like that, I think that I would like to see things be a little bit more in the favor of fighters. I know that promoting fights is hard. I've helped with some smaller shows. I know how expensive it is. And so I understand all that, but I definitely think that the fighters, especially with the UFC on the big shows, bring in tons of money, and in other sports, they'll get 51% roughly of profits. I don't think that's the case for us.
Do you take one of my last questions, Cub, is do you take this personal? You've been fighting for the UFC since 2011. You were fighting for the WEC before that. You've known the matchmakers. You've known Dana White. You've known the company for a long time. Is it hard not to take it personal, or you've been in this sport for so long? This is the business. This is how it works. So you're able to separate personal feelings from what's going on with the business side.
Honestly, I always take it personal because I know it's just business, and I remind myself that. But at the end of the day, your little, it's just business jabs affect my life and affect, who I'm training for and what's coming up and where I'm fighting. And, my whole family's traveling to these fights. So it's like everything is mixed in on that. So to say it's just business is difficult. I take it personal, and I've made it my agenda to, unfortunately for Ortega, I'm pretty pissed off just for this situation, and I'm going to take it out on him.
Yeah, so that was sorry.